Welcome, everybody. If you are here, you have probably looked at your GTM stack at some point and asked yourself, why is all of this running and the pipeline conversation at the end of the quarter still feels harder than it should? That's exactly what today is about, not a framework, not about a whiteboard exercise. We are going to open an actual system, look at how it works, and walk you through it together. So let's get into it. So here's the pattern. The tools are running. Clay isn't reaching if you already have Clay. Maybe you're using Haybridge for linking sequences, and nobody actually ever designed how these tools are connected, how they should talk to each other. What data flows from Clay to SmartLead, what signal actually triggers a linking sequence, who owns the action when something fires in hotspots. And nobody made those decisions. So the result is activity, in some cases a lot of it, but pipeline is a different conversation. So when I look at system with this problem, it's almost always one of three things. First, outreach before qualification. Sequences fire because a record exists. Probably you found an Apollo database, a Clay database, Sales Navigator database of leads, not because the account that you found, that is in a database, means that you need to fire an action. So not all the accounts are ready to send to a campaign. So nobody defined what qualified means before the campaign started. And if you don't map the TAM correctly, that is what we usually do for our clients, we can find a lot of processes that you can be firing a lot of actions to leads, hundreds of thousands of leads that are not ready or not qualified. So you're wasting a lot of time into having conversations with people that are not qualified, not ready. Your team is booking meetings with people that are not ready, they don't have the budget. So that feels exhausting, and we have been there as well. Secondly, awareness is mistaken for readiness. The lead engagement with content, attended webinar follows your LinkedIn. In those cases, the score went up, so they get routed to sales in most of the cases. And if engagement means intent, it will work, but it doesn't. And the third one is signals with no action attached. The data is real, the signal is there, but it's sitting in a dashboard with no owner, no defined action, no time window. And we have seen clients, purchasing and having a lot of different subscriptions with different tools just because they are cool. They allow you to track signals, but if you don't fire anything based on those signals, that information just lands in your CRM without any usage. So it decays, and after a few weeks, that information is not valuable anymore. So these three gaps are where pipeline leaks, not in the tools, in the space between them. So as I was telling you, the second gap deserves its own moment because we have seen this too often. Let's say you have two contacts. Contact A has 18 months engaging your content, follows every post, attending your webinar, warm by every traditional metric, but no signal of buying urgency. They haven't visited your pricing page, they haven't booked a meeting with you, and they are not hiring, they are not new in the role, they have raised a funding raise recently. Now you have contact B, never heard of you, but they just closed a Series B, just hired a VP of revenue, and they're publicly posting about rebuilding your GTM stack. How do you call first? Contact D, every time. But if you don't use that insight in your system, you might be missing some opportunities. So you can build awareness over time through content and repetition, but you cannot manufacture readiness. You can only detect it when it's actually there. And if people know you, maybe you can make them aware that they have an issue, but it's not up to you for them to make that move. So what does the system looks like when it actually works? We have 3 layers. On the left, signal sources like LinkedIn activity, job posting, events, social signals, CRM triggers. These are the inputs. In the middle, you have Clay as a qualification layer. Every signal runs through the same process: blacklist check, ICP feed, awareness mapping, readiness qualification, tagging back to the CRM. And the frequency depends on your setup. So you can run this daily, weekly, quarterly. You can check like for new job posts or for new reactions every day. And this is useful in some cases, but in our cases, it's not. Now, on the right, you have the campaign activation part. If you don't have it, you only have information that's not going to drive you pipelines. So the right action fires automatically based on how the account classified. LinkedIn average, cold email, reply management, and sequence stop. At the bottom, you have the loop that closes itself, that is booking the meeting, and sending all the interaction back to the CRM. It could be HubSpot, Salesforce, Pipedrive, whatever. So this is kind of a general overview. Now, let me make that concrete. A company posts on LinkedIn that just hired a VP of revenue. That post gets detected, a webhook fires to Clay. Clay processes it. If that company is ICP fit, they will score high on readiness. Brand awareness might be low, but the classification in that case is in market. So within 24 hours, a LinkedIn sequence fire, personalized with the context Clay already built. The lead replies, and you can use tools to manage those replies. Like, for example, Smartly have their own AI solution that can help you manage those replies. There are other tools like Under5 as well that pick up in under 5 minutes a message and helps you to respond automatically. And then if you manage to continue the conversation and to capturing the interest of that lead, you can book a meeting and HubSpot will get updated. Let's say you're using HubSpot. Now the sequence stops automatically because you have sent that lead from HubSpot to the blacklist, and now you won't reach out to that lead anymore. So there's no manual review, no drop signal, no wasted signal, and that's how the system should be working. Of course, not all signals are the best signals for you. Not all the systems are the best signal, the best processes for you. So that's why it's important to assess what is your current tech stack looks like and what are you doing? What is your ICP? How are you offering your services to them? But regarding the stage of your GTM infrastructure, when you go build something like this, you will immediately run into a pitch. So this is something that we have been seeing a lot. And last year we named that as a tool porn because we have seen so many tools coming out. But now there is a new issue that we can call it the vendor trap, that every vendor is selling everything. Like now with Cloud Code and
the all-in-one platform. Like
the
maybe
all-in-one
one
platform.
year ago, each one had a specific duty within your process. Like for example, Apollo for data, Prospero for email validation, and Clay for orchestration, and SmartLead for sequencing. Now Apollo is the all-in-one tool. Prospero is the all-in-one tool. I'm not saying that they are not launching great products, but also it's like a status of the industry where many even agency operators have launched their all-in-one platforms. So we have so many all-in-one platforms as we had similar to
Tools.
Amazon marketplaces back in the day. Like who doesn't want to have the marketplace or the all-in-one platform? All of us want, but the truth is that just 1% would make it. And we really appreciate the operators that are building tools for specific needs instead of tools that are meant to do the AI SDR black box that solves everything and doesn't give you enough flexibility to mold the system for your unique business case. But it is also true that it's a huge difference between building an outbound workflow than a signal-based system, right? So
Yep.
this is why we're here.
Yeah, totally. And the main problem here is that none of those solutions are actually best in class in everything. That's the main problem because they might have like a solution for different things, but if you want to have like the best GTM system or a system that actually can drive you result, you need to have like best parts for each. So best signals that there are several tools that can help you capture signals. One example is in Clay, you can capture signals, but you can also capture signals in Apify. And with Apify, you can customize the signals much more and you can get more signals than Clay. So if you're using Apify for signals, for example, you are getting better inputs to the system. Now, Clay is really good for orchestration. If you want to orchestrate things on Apify or in another platform, you will struggle a lot. So that's why Clay is really powerful for that. Clay also have a sequencer that is integrated with Smartlet. But I mean, although it's using one of the coolest technologies, Smartlet, the way that they are enabling the data to activate is not the best. So when you compromise on the tool to get integration, you compromise on the output. And what actually works is a set of specialized tools, each doing one thing well, just one, connected to the right architecture.
Right
The integration is
now,
not the product. The architecture is the product. Yeah.
I was saying that right now for the very first step that you mentioned, which is the TAM mapping, we are seeing that the Clay Native database does not refresh as often as other competitors. You might have found better data quality in terms of the um, the the last update, and also in terms of the coverage, depending on an industry, depending on a region, the database and the data provider that you would use, and also the scraping solutions that you would use. So it is important to differentiate which tools, which are your tech partners for each step of the process while setting up such system. And also always be in the search of better alternatives. That's why attending to these types of events and being part of the operators communities would give you much insights on when a product is outperforming the one you're using for a specific case. And sometimes it's not a matter of performance and it's more a matter of dollars. So sometimes you would find like a great provider that is more expensive than other, or right now with the whole cloud code explosion, that anyone is a great product builder, consider developing in-house a solution. But I would say that's like a hard bet. I
Mhm.
wouldn't overkill when some product is already driving your solutions as long as you see ROI.
Here's what that looks like in practice. So, for example, Get Sales is a great tool for LinkedIn sequencing, like automation. They also have an enrichment capability right now. They also have a CRM inside. But from our point of view, their sequencer and the way they maintain your LinkedIn account safe is top level. So we recommend a tool for that. Um, Go Extrovert is another tool that is a kind of a LinkedIn copilot that helps you build awareness using comments on the leads that you are monitoring and also sending DMs that in this case, is not automated. It's helping you by showing you the DMs and comments you should send to them, and you can approve it or tweak it, and it's go through. So nothing goes without sign off. There are tools like Twain for deep lead research that can help you write better cold email copy. So applied only to highest priority leads, of course, because it's not cheap, but it can research really in depth your leads and can help you stand out over the crowd. Other tools might be Under5 as well. It's a tool that can help you manage reply management on LinkedIn or cold email. So it captures the responses that you get, it processes it through an AI and sends you back the response so you approve or change it. And once you satisfy with it, you can start running on autopilot so you don't even need to take care of those responses. Now, as Marcus was saying, Cloud Code with MCP connection and so on is really powerful right now. You can build a lot of tools, but also it's really interesting to use it to orchestrate your campaigns. So if you load to that tool, like to Claude, if you're using Claude, or Codex, if you're using GPT, your best practices, your SOPs, it can help you set up the campaign, set up the copies, speed up the process to actually deploy the campaign faster with better results and without investing so much time to it. So right now, probably all the tools already have or they are deploying a new MCP solution. So that's a great news for all of you. Now, Smartlead is another great tool as well. We use it for LinkedIn sequence, for cold email sequencer, but it also helps you to increase email deliverability. And there are many other email sequencer that can help you with that. So, of course, some of them are already deploying AI solutions like AI parts. Like, of course, Extrovert is one of them. Clay can help you integrate AI to qualify, to create copies. Twain is an AI researcher. What other one? I was saying Under5 as well is an AI assistant that can help you manage your inbox. But you should take one decision that is the most important one, and nobody's thinking about is how much do you want to delegate to the AI? And there are free models, like Marco was saying before. A lot of tools are building into or transforming into a black box type of solution in which the AI controls everything. So there are near zero operational burden, but when performance drop, you have almost no labor to pull. So that's the challenge here. Now there are other tools that can help you configure the context the AI executes, but you set up the inputs, the context, all the parameters for the AI to run. Like, for example, you set up a prompt on Clay to create the copies. There are tools like, for example, Twain as well that can help you create that parameter as well. So once you see results with those parameters, you can start automating end to end. But early in that process, you need to learn about which context is better for the campaign that you will be running. And then there are other tools like Copilot tools that can help you draft things like Extrovert in this case. For example, this tool will recommend you comments ideas, DMs ideas, but it's not that they are sending those comments or DMs right away. They have a human in the loop. They have somebody and they ask for somebody to manage and take care of that conversation because at a certain point the lead will respond and you need to keep that conversation on. So the mistake is picking one model and applying it uniformly to every part of your GTM, and there are different parts of the system that need different approaches. So you need to assess what are you want to do with it to actually select the best tool. There are parts of it that actually don't need an AI actually. So here's what happened when you deploy an AI without setting up correctly. The inputs are thin. I mean, you are really generic. The ICP is undefined. The offer is really vague, and the output is generic. So you have the same message to every prospect every time, and the reply around 0.8. You have pipeline near 0. That's not a tool failure. That's how you're using AI for it. So the AI is doing exactly what you told it to do. You just didn't give it enough to work with. So context right now is not optional. It's a variable that determines everything. So for example, one thing that you could do to actually capture the content of your company is start processing every internal strategic document with an LLM to create a draft of who is your ICP, what are the strategy, what are your products. And that's an easy step. Now, if you want to move forward, you can start scraping the transcript of your conversations with clients or with your partners to actually make this document better. If you want to go even ahead of that, you can scrape your prospects engagements like reactions, posts, and everything that they have been working around on social media and track all that, analyze all the transcripts with clients that you have and made a better understanding of your ICP. So once you have that document and clarity about the strategy, the AI will help you to drive results. But in the beginning, the AI won't be able to do that because if even you are not ready, you don't know what you want to target, what's your offer, what's the best way to offer that, it will be really difficult for an AI to have that context for you. And the other side, as I was saying, is that not everything needs an AI. For example, if you're sending a webinar invitation, you have a list, you can automate that. So if you have a newsletter, you have a defined audience, you can automate that. Follow-up sequences in defined steps like called sequences don't usually need an AI. AI is needed when you have like different type of responses or like for example, if you can categorize the responses in different batches and there are a few of them, let's say 5 to 10% that are outside those batches, you will need an AI to categorize those type of messages. But for the majority of situations, you don't need AI to actually help you run something. Of course, it can help you with strategy, it can help you research, but there are a lot of things that you can easily automate the task to get better results. So automation is better when you need consistency and use AI where context and relevance determines the outcome. So
Right.
matching the right model to the right use case is one of the highest leverage decision you will build in your stack. Yeah,
That's
Marcos.
a really cool take. I agree with that. And even sometimes you don't need automation. Or there are different scopes for the automation as well. Like sometimes the automation would run until showing your sales rep specific action to take. So there will be a human in the loop because that specific message needs to be like qualified by a human, or sometimes, especially when you launch this type of systems, you always want to keep a human in the loop to give feedback, to fine tune and optimize. And then when the system is mature, you release the full automation. But in some cases, for example, we have a client that have 150 enterprise clients in their TAM. So imagine that you don't want to risk on the automation when the volume of messages and tasks that you send out are not, I mean, they are feasible to go through qualified, vetted professionals. So there are times that 100% automated is not even the way to go.
What you said about running manual, it's really important because most of the companies skip that part. But in the beginning, it's really useful to learn from the GTM action that you're running. And I'm not saying that with automation you cannot learn, but in some cases, like if you have 150 companies on your ICP, uh, you cannot, try and run some experiments with that batch because it's really small. So you will need to do it manually to actually capture as many data points as you can to learn from it and improve your offer. So matching the correct model is the answer here. Now, I would like to uh, stop talking and let's look at a real one. So there are three things I'm going to walk you through the actual Clay workbook, the tables we're running in production, how signals get captured, qualified, sent to CRM, and so on. Some campaign setup and some live signals as well that we are capturing from the market, and this is what we usually run for clients with different customizations, with different processes depending on their needs, but it's the whole system is the same, following our methodology. If you want to learn more about our methodology, we call it the Revenue Tornado. It's on YouTube. And yeah, we have published a lot of content about it. So let's go for it. But this is a table in which we cover part of our market. In this case, we're tracking some companies and their interaction with our brand and with different signals that we value and we think that they are interesting to assign them a value in terms of two main scores. One is brand awareness, that means how much they know about us, how much they trust us. And the other score is readiness to buy, that means how ready they are to buy. I mean, how close they are to make a decision, how interesting they are to look for a vendor that solves that problem that you solve. So once you map the TRAM, and I'm not going to explain how to map the TRAM in this webinar, because maybe you all have seen that process. Just as a quick setting here on Clay, you can find people, find companies, and use that to actually start the TAM mapping. Of course, there are different requirements depending on the type of company that you are targeting. In some cases, you need to research more data to actually mark those companies and leads as qualified. Like if a company it's in the B2B field, probably there are some filters today that you can use to map them. But if you want to know if that company is selling to a particular ICP, probably you'll need to research the web. Or as well as we were discussing with Marcos earlier, there are new solutions that are coming to the market. Like for example, Prospeo have launched that feature that can help you map the time, and they have like I don't know, probably 100 different filters, and it's really interesting the tool to actually use it.
They launched 17 new filters that were not, I mean, they didn't exist before, like filtering by B2B or B2C or filtering by lookalike professionals. They have a lot of new stuff launching
Yeah.
next week. So, yeah, it's a good product.
So there are different tools for each market, and you should be able to know what are your leads. And there are many databases as well. Another example is RioDev. It's another tool that can help you map the usage of different technologies across the market. So, for example, if you want to know if a company is developing an AI agent, they are monitoring actively all the companies that are engaging with GitHub repositories related to that. So that gives you like a huge advantage to map the TAM at a really niche specific requirement. So there are many, many tools that can help you map the TAM. But the thing is that once you map the TAM, the interesting part is to start monitoring them. So let's say you have a list of leads and you have already qualified the companies. In Clay, you can, for example, run for free this function that is, let me show you, find jobs. This function is really interesting because as I'm sorry, I forgot the name of who we were chatting before. Feared, I think.
Yeah,
If you
I
use,
know.
oh, here you are. Okay. So if you use find jobs here, starting from a company's table, you can actually set it up to only find jobs related to the company's table that you're tracking. So once you set it up for those, it's gonna only search for job posts related to that company. So once you map it, you can send it into a different table, like for example this one, and this is going to be populated every day or at the requirement that you need. Like for example, you can run it daily, weekly, whatever the sequence that you like. And once it's running, is capturing those job posts, and it can also, you can also score them based on the titles that you're interested to track and so on. So once you have it, you can use it to actually monitor the market. And once you capture a new signal, score the leads related to that account properly and send them to the correct campaign. So the same process applies for different type of signals. And I'm talking about an external signal here, but we can also set it up to monitor internal signals. So Clay have launched this feature that is called functions. If you haven't checked it out, it's really, really powerful. It's like a loop that you can create that send data from a table to an enrichment process, and it comes back the data already enriched. So as you can see here, the output of this enrichment process is checking against different tables, different data sets that we have to know if any lead that we have on the list is reacting to our content, commenting to our content, visit our website, being part of our newsletter, reacting to other leaders in the industry content, attending to our workshops, if they're in our blacklist, if they have booked a meeting with us, and so on. And this is set to run daily. So the main process here is that you can run that process as well here on the read run column and select the column that you want to run. And once this is set to run daily, it will update the data for you. For example, the tags that you can assign to that lead, but also the score or the status. And if they are in the correct status, you can send it to different type of campaigns. So for example, if you capture a new lead because this table, for example, is fed upon Clay find people, Prospero find people, and other sources. So if we find, and we have set this to run automatically, so every time we find a new decision maker between the companies that we're tracking, it's sent to this table, and here it's qualified. And if we find a new cold lead, we send it into a cold sequence. So that cold sequence in this case can be called email sequence that you can run in a table to find their email, for example, check all the information you have about them, and then create the messages or part of them and send them into the automation. All working automated fully end to end without you being part of the process. And you can do the same for nurture, for in-market or sales rate. That means nurture is people who know you, but they are not buying yet. In-market means people who are buying right now, but they don't know you. And then you have sales sales ready people that are in market. They are looking for a solution, but also aware of the brand. So those leads should get activated really soon, and you can send a Slack alert to your team to reach out to those leads immediately. So at the end of the workflow, once you send all of them to different campaigns, you can automate as well sending the enrichment that you did on Clay back to HubSpot. So in this case, we have another function that first check if we don't have that contact, it enriches the contact and the company. If we don't have it, it creates the contact and the company. So that's the process in Clay and how you can start integrating tools. In this case, I show you SmartLead, Clay as a way to find signals. Let me show you another signal here. Website visits. Clay already have that function. Also, there are other tools that can help you with that. This tool ran like a waterfall of ID de-anonymization. So it stands out from any other website visits capturing an anonymization tool because it runs many tools inside it. So if you're running RB2B, for example, RB2B is one of the sources of that tool. Also Vector, also Clearbit. So they run like different tools to capture the best, like with the best confidence possible, who is visiting your site. So that's another great way of tracking signals. Another one could be, for example, LinkedIn reactors. In this case, we're using an Apify actor. That's another tool to capture LinkedIn reactions. And since you have been hearing us talking about different tools, You might think that this is really expensive, but let me tell you something. If you subscribe to a tool to use the whole platform for everything, it's going to be more expensive than using individual tools for specific cases and connect it all together into an orchestration tool like Clay. So the main issue here is that, of course, you'll need to have somebody to implement that for you or have the skill to actually do it. That takes some time to learn it, but of course, you have like better results, better information. So in this case, for example, we're using, as I was telling you, a table that we capture all our LinkedIn posts, and then we run this Apify actor. Oh, sorry, we changed it. Yeah, I forgot that we changed it to B2B enrichment. That is another solution, but we also we're using Apify for our clients because it's easier to understand and to implement as well. Of course, if you want to implement what you saw today and resonates information, and if you're looking at your own stack and wondering where the connections are missing, we're offering a free GTM architecture review. So we look at your current setup, how signals are being captured, how accounts are being qualified, where outreach is firing enough without enough context, and we map out what the right architecture looks like for you for the specific motion that you want to implement. We have some limit slots because each one is hands-on and actually we invest a lot of time for each client. There's no cost for you, no obligation, just a clear picture of where pipeline might be leaking. I have a question here. So if we go to the next one, that is QA. Are you asking AI to qualify, or is there a qualification criteria you develop with your customer? It depends.
I would say AI for research, and then
Yep.
qualification runs on an automation.
Yeah. So AI can help you answer questions like, is this company B2B or B2C? But then the qualification might be related to matching industry, size, revenue, and revenue model. So having that data combined can be processed through an automation easily. You don't need to have an AI running that qualification for companies or leads. What's really useful to run an AI for qualification is in the case of signals. So, for example, if you are capturing a job post and you want to see if that job post is actually related to a signal for you, because not all job posts that says that company is hiring for a CRO means that they are looking to invest in RevOps. In order to actually see that, you will need to read the full description of that job post and understand the context of that job post to actually score it. So for that case in particular, you can use an AI to qualify it, but because it's a context understanding situation, that you need an AI to run it. But in majority of the cases, that's not needed. Let's talk about GTM quickly here. Framework about signal GTM funnel. So this is a beautiful design from Marcos.
Cloud Code.
Explains how it comes from, yeah, cloud code based 100% from cold prospect to in market. And once it is market, you can capture that and transform it into sales ready. Or the leads can come from a different motion that is awareness first. That they know you first, even they are not buying, but they start trusting you. So once they start trusting you and they are looking for a solution, they will consider.
If you remove the hover, it will continue its path. You can see the prospect's journey from cold stage to aware of your brand, where you can nurture it until they show enough intent that it passes to HubSpot CRM, and your sales team can take the opportunity with full context about the prospect journey. And you could accelerate this path through a system like the one we shared, right? So the idea is that, especially for companies that don't have much awareness in their industry, they might start off with most of their time at the cold stage. And you would want to have, especially if you have a large TAM, automated motions that would warm them up, send them into the marketing nurture quadrant, because they would connect with you on LinkedIn, they would visit your website, they would manifest somehow awareness about yourself or your brand. And from then, you nurture them with newsletters, with social media content, with comments. Through Go Extrovert, you could use a comment system, and then you track all those interactions in Clay until they pass the threshold for readiness to buy, and that lead should be routed to your sales team with full context. So then that could also be routed to not only HubSpot, but the phone dialer, but also push notification, because the time to lead is also important, right? To capture the opportunity when it's the right time. So yeah, this would be the framework that we follow to set up the system.
And it combines different moves, so it depends on the type of
Another
ticket. And
yesterday I was at a webinar, and I forgot to mention that we have these two variables, right? So one is brand awareness, the second one is their likeliness or readiness to buy. And I feel like there is a third dimension that is the time. So, for example, it's not the same signal of a qualified prospect that was promoted for the specific job title that you're targeting 2 days ago than 6 months ago, right? It's not the same a signal of a company that gets funded 1 year ago than 1 month ago. So the way that you manage those time frames is by adding like different signals. I mean, the same signal with different time frames, right? So recently funded 1 week ago, 3 months ago, 9 months ago. So you have three different signals, and they all would weight differently with a different score, right? So if the company has raised the funds 1 month ago, it would have a higher score than if they raised 6 months ago. Is that clear? Yeah.
I think so. We have set that up as well, and you can set it up as well in Clay, having like an equation that compares current date with the day the signal was captured, and then have a multiplication based on that date to decrease the weight of the signal. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We're happy to help you. There is a Slack channel as well that you can join. You can visit our site and check out that great UI Marcos did with Cloud Code.
If you want to book a call with us, I don't know why the hyperlink. There we go. Yeah,
All right. Yeah.
there is the website. Feel free to surf the website and book a call if you feel like having a further conversation.
Awesome. It was a pleasure. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.